day 26 of backpacking the islands and highlands turned into another one of those epic journeys, in fact 120 kilometers, where I dropped down from Melvich on the north coast and then ended up camping at Tain on the south coast. The route I was using was the A897. That way I avoided a good chunk of the A9, which is a fairly lethal main road that runs down from Thurso to Inverness, and everybody says avoid it at all costs. There is an improved cycling route that's much further west, but I didn't want to backtrack over the hills to get there. So this A897 that I dropped down was a 25-kilometer backtrack, but the disadvantage of it is it's the route used by lumber extraction lorries. Now, actually, while if you were in a camper van, that would be a nightmare, it was fine in cycling terms because there were not that many of them and you could hear them coming from a long way away. So while you definitely don't want to be trying to share a single track road with the lumber lorry, in practice, I'd hear them coming a minute away and I'd be well to the side of the road by the time they actually passed me. I think only 4 or 5 passed me all day. Much of this route is through the Flow country, a vast blanket bog that covers that central area of the highlands, and that means there's very little actually on the route. Some farmhouses at the top and the bottom, but there's a very long section in the centre where there's almost nothing except at the single train station. No shops at all, I think, for a distance of about 60 kilometres. I think there might have been one cafe, but I'm not sure it was open when I passed. So in other words, if you're thinking of cycling this, make sure you stocked up on water and food, and indeed an electricity charge at the start of it, because there's really not going to be much to resupply you on the route on the way down. And if that's not desolate enough for you, you can do what I did, which is as you start to get down towards the A9, there is a side road that goes off to the right, and that goes up a very, very rough track high over a mountain pass and brings you down to the A9 at a point that's about 8 kilometers further south. So actually, it's handy to miss that 8 kilometers, and as you'll see, here's the track now. It's really impressive. I had the usual fear as I was going up this that it was going to actually just run out and turn into something that was unpassable at the top, but I've now scouted it and I can reassure you that while it gets very, very rough indeed, it is actually possible to cycle it all the way up. Possibly not on skinny road bike tires though, because this very top section here is just very chopped up with potholes. So in my eagerness to cut about 8 kilometers out of the A9, I took a fork off the road coming, of course, the Flow, which I could see was going uphill. That's okay, I don't mind going uphill if I'm going to save myself 8 kilometers, but it turned out to be going very uphill, and I'd misread the contour lines on the map, so I thought it was only going up to 200 meters. It was actually going up to 340. I think I'm getting near the top now, but yes, and look at the road surface as well. It's a little rough. My big fear is it'll just peter out entirely at the top and I'll have to go back 15 kilometers. This actually may have been one of the highest road elevations of the entire trip, I think. I think only going from Loch Ness over the pass into Fort Augustine was actually higher. But eventually I got to the very top. We're just about to hit it here. And then the usual pleasure of that view you hit. And also, of course, the descent, which was also on a very rough road. So I had to take this one fairly carefully, to put it mildly. Gravel and potholes isn't a great combination for going fast. And actually it turned out this one had a special treat waiting in the wings for me, because as I was coming down this magnificent stretch here, I came around a corner and realised the road ahead was covered in cow manure, wet, slippy cow manure, very unpleasant to cycle through, but I made it. So then we're kind of getting to the end of this. There's some lovely woodland and river as you're getting to the very final section, and then you come over the brow of a hill, and ahead of you I could see the sea and the east coast. So I'd done it, and now it was just down to the last bit that I wasn't really fancying at all, which was the trip along the A9. Unavoidable by this route to do some of it at least. You can skip bits of it by going on back roads, but you have to do some sections of the A9. I had timed it, and part of the reason I did this long distance was so I would hit it in the evening, and I also knew that I was coming up on a big bridge, and that lots of cyclists were quite nervous about that bridge, so I actually decided I was going to cross that bridge at about 8:30. This is the bridge over the Donnoch Firth, which I was approaching from the Black Isle side, so that enabled you to skip the A9, but it is about 3 kilometres from the start of the bridge to the end. And here we are crossing the bridge. And we're just about to get onto the bridge proper. There's a little parking space this side of it, but I think it's 2 kilometres long, so it's quite good. That length includes the lead up and the slope off the end of the bridge. Here I am crossing it. I'd done such a distance, I hadn't really planned this route, so I didn't know exactly where I was staying. And I'd been looking up Google Maps when I stopped for that Chinese back there. So in fact, what I decided to do was head to a public car park at the coast near the town of Tain, and that's where I spent the night. Hope you're enjoying all these diaries so far. If you haven't done so already, do give the channel a follow.